What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that by now you have put the 2021 season well in the rearview mirror. It is Tuesday, February 1st. We are officially in a new month, 2022. Thankfully, no longer 2021. Like I said, we're not talking about that, although we're actually about to talk about that. That's the whole point of why we are here tonight. As we do every single Tuesday, we are about to discuss the Dallas Cowboys in many different ways, shapes, and forms. It is our Blogging the Boys Roundtable streaming live on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. You can watch this later at your own pace. You can also listen to it, your audio perusal on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Apple devices, Spotify. Leave a rating, write a review. Those things help us out very much. Joining me this evening, the usual motley crew, fresh out of maybe PE. It is Aiden Davis. You can read him at bloggingtheboys.com, and you can see him, or hear him rather, on the Blogging the Boys podcast network, as you can all these guys around here. Tony Catalina, who is morose about Tom Brady retiring. He is a Boston diehard, except for the Yankees, his one exception when it comes to Boston sports teams. So sorry, Tony, that you've had to endure Tom Brady's departure from the NFL today. In our 4 o'clock position, it is one of the members of Entourage running around with Vinny Chase, Dave Sturchio from Chop Sports. Great to have you here with us tonight, Sturch. Down there at 6 o'clock, a recently engaged man, Tom Ryle. Congratulations to you, sir, from all of us at Blogging the Boys. Very happy for you, buddy. And then at the 7:30 position, it is Danny Phantom, not a Fairly Odd Parent, on Twitter at DannyPhantom24. Dan, how is your Tuesday night going?
It is going great. Yeah, it's really cold here in Oregon, so just trying to stay warm. And but yeah, it's nothing to complain about. How are you doing, RJ?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking, Dan. Only person here. 5 million points to Dan Rogers to get the night started. What do you classify as cold, Dan, while we're on this subject? Like, what's the temperature hit to where you're like, you know what? I need a windbreaker.
I think like 28 is uncomfortable for me.
Okay, so that's okay. All right. Dan's out here a little bit, a little bit more manly than the rest of us. All right, I see how it is. I know we have some international listeners and viewers. I'm going to guess that's like, I don't know, -9 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to offer that conversion for you. Aiden, how is your Tuesday going? Are you ready to, you seem ready to defend Dak Prescott. You've kind of been in that mood lately. You wrote something defending Dak at Blogging the Boys. Are you smiling upon QB1 once again?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Dak had the greatest end of 2021 that we've ever seen. Obviously, I'll be the first to say it was flat out bad, and he held the team back. But with that being said, I think that the hate has gotten completely, it's like apparently we have Nathan Peterman at quarterback based off what I'm seeing. It's like, Dak's fine, guys. Let's calm down a little bit.
We are going to discuss Dak in a little bit of detail, but the first thing I want to start with tonight is actually something I didn't prep any of you for. We do have a few things ready to roll. Sturch, I know over at Chop Sports, you guys were on this maybe like a month ago, but tomorrow is February 2nd, 2022. It's 2/2/22. The Washington football team has been very specific to let us know that this is the day that they are going to unveil their new uniform. I wouldn't say their new color scheme, but their new logo, their new imaging, and all things like that. Sturch, you guys at Chop Sports had the logo and the name, and a lot of leaks have happened, kind of around that. More leaks happening tonight. We will know for sure what the name is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, in about, 12 or so hours, at least at the time of streaming. But it does seem like we are going to be sharing a division with the Washington Commanders. Dave Sturchio, your thoughts on Washington going with that name, operating on that presumption, of course.
Well, first of all, I'm very, very relieved. When you put something out on the interwebs like that and it reaches as much as the accounts that it reach, you just pray to God that it's right. But we had some credible sources over at Chop, and I think it's legit. So, and yesterday, I believe Joe Theismann kind of leaked it by accident. So he was just like talking, and he was like, "I love the Commanders. Commanders is good, great." That, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." What do I think of the name? I think it's good. I mean, look. The only thing I could say is based off the
it's
logo. It's
not. You're wrong. Stupid answer by you, but whatever.
Well, no, I was going to say based off the logo I saw, they're already messing this up because they already said, established 1932. Well, guess what? It's 2022. You are the Washington Commanders. That is your establishment date. So they already screwed that up. But it doesn't matter at this point, dude. There's such a poverty franchise compared to everybody else. It's funny. I said this on Twitter right before we started. I said, between this and other headlines in the NFL, like that poor groundhog is going to get no airplay tomorrow. Nobody's going to care about the groundhog.
I didn't like that answer at all. Tony, drag them. What do we think of the name Washington Commanders?
Tony, be careful.
I hate it. I think it's safe. I just don't think there's really. It's not too imaginative.
It feels like we're watching a Netflix, a straight to Netflix football movie. Like that's who the Washington Commanders are. You know what I mean? Like a team in that movie.
I think I'm going to see an indoor football league game with the Washington Commanders playing the New York Bullets or something. It's just like it's nonsense. So I mean, I can't believe they put in their hype video. It's like, hey, I know everybody wants the Red Wolves, but guess what? We're not doing the Red Wolves, and like we just want to let you know we thought about it, but we're still not going to do it. And I feel bad. I like to see the misery, but I feel bad for their franchise that everybody pretty much almost universally like we love this, and they're not going to do it. So.
What made it worse is the hype video Tony's talking about. They actually explained the legality behind it. Like, I would almost rather you just don't even say that. Just say like we would rather not do Red Wolves. Like that was so lame. To hear the explanation for that. Tony Peters, different Tony, says name isn't good, but doesn't matter because I'm a Cowboys fan. Good perspective. Casey Hammond, a fantastic commenter, says beats the hell out of Presidents or whatever other god awful name presented. I think Presidents would have been kind of cool, Tom. Like that. I mean, at least would have been geographically topical. Maybe that's where Commanders comes from. Obviously, Commanders in Chief. But I like Tom. I just feel like if we were in a huddle, Tom, and like we were playing for that team, and you were like trying to gas us up, and you were leading a chant, and you were like, "We're the Commanders," I would burst out laughing. Like I just wouldn't be able to take it seriously.
Yeah, well, one great thing about it is maybe this will finally kill "Hail to the Redskins" forever. The song itself, which, for those that don't know, had a storied part in the Cowboys' history, but they pretty much committed because there was a shout out on Twitter just about 30 minutes ago where you can see inside the stadium they've already started putting up Commanders signage inside FedEx. Yeah, so it's pretty much over, and obviously, Washington has the only camp leakier than Tom Brady's, so it is out. It is pretty much done. It's kind of a mediocre to type name.
Tom, is there a name in the NFL that it's cooler than? Because I don't think there is.
That's cooler than Commanders?
Yeah, that Washington Commanders is cooler, better, hipper.
That they're cooler than.
Yeah. Does anybody have an option? The open question to the room. Is there an NFL team that is worse than the Commanders? Aiden, you have an answer.
I get the historical significance of it, but the Browns to me will forever remain as just why. I get the historical significance of the Browns, but come on, Browns really?
I was about to say the Texans, like Houston.
That's a cool name, dude. That's a cool name.
How do you describe Houston? They're from Texas, so I guess we can call them the Texans, like that. And then having the Longhorn basically as their logo, it's like you're not even trying at this point. Yeah, you're just duplicating.
I've long thought that a Browns helmet would be the best one to get autographed. Like if you were a fan of that team, that could be super easy because it's just like it's like a blank canvas. Like it's completely. The worst one is actually the team in the Super Bowl, the Bengals. Like that must be a nightmare to get a signature on because of all the black. Like what do you use? A silver Sharpie. You know how those go. Sometimes it doesn't show up on the black. Like it's got to be one of those like thicker ones. I mean,
that's so crazy you say that. I went to a Cadillac golf outing at the age of 10, right? And I met Jeff Blake, who was the quarterback of the Bengals at the time. And he said he wouldn't sign any helmets because it was just like, just give me something else other than our helmet because it won't show up. He actually said
telling you, dude. I'm telling you. And it is a cool helmet. And that's like, we're deep into the weeds, and Dan, I have a Commander's question for you too. But I also hate I'm rooting for the Bengals, as I assume all 5 of you are too. But their logo that they like, if you go by anything, Bengals, the logo on the polos, the caps, it's a B. It's a B with the stripes on it. You got a freaking tiger. Like, why is that thing not on your caps and shirts and at midfield? If I was in charge of that, the tail of the tiger to the front paw would stretch from 20 to 20 on the yard lines. I mean, like, what are they doing, Dan Rogers? What's going on here?
So you're talking about the Bengals now?
No, actually, let's move past the Bengals. But the Commanders logo, the one that Sturch and Chop Sports leaked, it was kind of like the old Ravens logo, where if you remember, it had kind of the 4 quadrants and things in it, and one of the quadrants had 3 stars. Your thoughts, Dan, on the Washington franchise having stars in their logo?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing it, but I can't remember it precisely. First off, I think it's stupid. I don't.
This is what I wanted, Sturch. This is what I wanted.
I don't like the name, but of course, I don't like the Washington part of the name. So that's the start. I guess what I'm saying, it doesn't matter what they would have come up with. I would think it's stupid, but it just, I don't know. I start thinking about like what could they come up with that would be a cool name, and I just couldn't come up with anything. So I don't know. I knew I was going to hate it, regardless of what they came up with. So honestly, I have nothing good to say about it. It's Washington. So
my last thought on this, and Tony, you can ask your brother, but I feel like it would be terrible to play for that team, like just existentially. But like, I would hate to look out the yellow, like that would bother me. It would be the worst color to look out of, as far as the color of your face mask. It would be so distracting as opposed to a more neutral color. But thus ends. Tom, you had a point.
Yeah, they're another one of the teams that they ought to ban yellow cleats and gloves too, because I always think there's flags on the field and it's just some player that fell down,
A few of our commenters noted that when the Alliance of American Football existed, that the San Antonio franchise was called the Commanders. No big deal. It's part of the pre- and post-game show for that on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. So RIP to the San Antonio Commanders. One of the people to note that was DFWAV Geek 521, who actually is the inspiration for our next topic. I mentioned the Bengals. They are playing the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl. We do have a question from somebody, and if anybody ever wants to ask any questions, you want us to address something on the roundtables, hit us up on Twitter. Aiden is at Aiden1214. Tony is at Tony_Catalina, the only one of us that has a weird underscore. Sturch is at Dave Sturchio. Tom at Tom Ryle BTB, company man he is, and Dan at Danny Phantom 24. So DFWAV Geek 521 asks, and Aiden, I go to you first. Does the Rams comeback against the 49ers make us feel worse? The San Francisco 49ers squandered a 10-point lead in the final, portion of the NFC Championship game. Do you feel better as a Cowboys fan?
I mean, the only thing that I was just rooting for the Rams, not only because I'm secondary Rams fan, but also because of the fact that, I didn't want to see the 49ers in the Super Bowl. No Cowboys fan did. But outside of just did it make me feel better about the Cowboys' loss? I don't really like to do that revisionist thing where I'm like, they have to lose or they have to make it, or they have to win so that our loss looks better, or they have to lose because they beat us and I want to see them lose, because I don't really like to do that. So in terms of just the pure comeback, I don't really think it affected my emotions in terms of how I feel about the Cowboys, because I'll die on the hill that the Cowboys would have lost to any of the other NFC teams in the playoffs outside of the Eagles. So I don't think it matters in terms of how we look at the Cowboys after this.
Tony Catalina, you are the most dramatic of all of us. Do you better, worse? I mean, how's your heart?
I think Aiden kind of alluded to it a little bit, but
man, be your own man, Tony. Come up with your own answer. Jeez, quit copying off of Aiden.
So for me, I've done a lot of soul searching in the last couple of weeks after this loss, because it's hurt, and I had to eat my words when I said I thought the 49ers would be the number one team I wanted to play in the first round. I got exactly what I deserved, and we lost. and I think what Aiden said is right. I don't know if we would have played any team in there that we might have beaten. So I didn't feel any worse. I always thought the Rams were a better team. I mean, they spent all the money trying to get Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. You just kind of felt like if this team didn't make it happen, like what a colossal collapse this was. And I always thought the 49ers were, gritting it out and fighting teams. And I think eventually Jimmy Garoppolo would, come to be Jimmy Garoppolo. And that interception was pretty funny to me. But yeah, I didn't feel, I didn't think the 49ers were going to win. I didn't think they had a legitimate shot. To me, I didn't feel better or worse about it. It was kind of like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Sturch.
I would say I'm with Aiden because I truly felt that the Cowboys weren't going to beat any of these teams. It doesn't make me feel any different either way. I was obviously rooting for the Rams. I won't go as far as saying what Aiden just did, and he broke every man law in the history of man laws by saying my secondary team. I almost lost myself over there, but I understand you got family over there, so that's all good. You get a pass. But
Sturch, you're a Cowboys and a Yankees fan. Let's
no.
Let's just
let's
have some
within the same sport, RJ.
Okay. Let me clarify something. It goes Cowboys #1. And then a Grand Canyon sized cliff. If you have a gun to my head, I'll root for the Rams secondary.
Wow, only one Grand Canyon sized cliff, not even two.
It is what it is. But anyway, no, this didn't really make me feel any different either way. I'm not so much worried about how the 49ers play. The one that really made me feel a little better, if anything, was when the Niners beat the Packers. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, well, then maybe they're good, and then they lose ultimately to, on paper, which, again, I think the 49ers on paper were worse than every team going into the playoffs, but they proved us wrong, and they went on a nice little run there. But, the buck stops with the NFC Championship, and I think the Rams were just built to go all the way, and a lot of people predicted the Rams to be there in the beginning, even before they added Von Miller and Odell Beckham. So, the Rams are there, and I think that, it doesn't make me feel any other different way about the Cowboys result.
First things first, Casey Hammond asks you, Aiden, who is your tertiary team? Team. I don't know if you want to answer that or not, but yeah, you've opened a can of worms here, Aiden. So good luck putting them back in. Tom's Sturch touched on this, and now we're kind of segueing into a different discussion. But Sturch touched on Los Angeles' acquisition of Von Miller, the signing of Odell Beckham Jr. You wrote about this idea on Monday at bloggingtheboys.com, how the Cowboys can learn something from the Rams, everyone in the NFL. And that's, in a weird way, that's why I would like to see the Rams win the Super Bowl is to justify the philosophy that they have used for the last few years, and in the hopes that the teams like the Cowboys would it is a copycat league after all. So getting away from the "are you disappointed" thing, do you think, Tom, that the Cowboys will learn from what the Rams did, or do you think that they just really like their guys?
I don't think they'll learn. We're dealing
awesome, great.
With Stephen Jones.
Bring on the next 8 months. Super pumped. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Stephen Jones, unfortunately, I don't have much faith in him looking around and changing his ways because he believes he's found the magic solution despite it not working for over 2 decades. So I'm not optimistic. I would be thrilled if they did change. I don't know if this is the year they want to do it because I don't know what's out there. And, I'm just now getting into, okay, what do they need to do in the offseason, or at least what I think they need to do. I was glad to see the Rams get in just because of Matthew Stafford. I think there's an excellent
Look who has
lesson.
A secondary team now. Interesting.
Yeah. Not my secondary team. I just, the people that were left, hey, he's a Texas boy. That's what I'm rooting for. And It also proves that he was kind of drugged down by being stuck in Detroit all those years. Which just goes to show that having a star quarterback is not worth a flip if you don't have a team built around him. Detroit did a horrible job. The Rams basically had a team to plug him into, and look what's happened for him. So I think that's an important thing.
Tom, you, like me, are a fighting Texas Aggie. Zach Taylor's father-in-law, Mike Sherman. So, no big deal. That's your connection. Yeah. But, hey, you're a fan of Matthew Stafford. Whatever. Just forget everything that happened in College Station, and Bryan and the surrounding metropolis, whatever. Dan, I'm going to ask you a unique question. Nobody else gets this question except for you because you are special. On the subject of Matthew Stafford, the way that Detroit Lions fans are handling this, is very strange and very unique. You have one section of Lions fans that are overwhelmingly rooting for Matthew Stafford. They want to see him win the Super Bowl. They'll always love him, etc. Then you have another faction that is saying, look, I love Stafford fine, but I don't want to see him have success. No, I don't care about that. I'm a Lions fan. I don't have a secondary or tertiary team. I'm not Aiden or Tom. I mean, I have one team, and it is the 3-1-3. And so, Dan, I put it to you. This is a hypothetical. But if instead of retiring and heading to the broadcast booth, if this had been Tony Romo in his first season away from the Cowboys, would you be rooting like crazy for them, or would you be indifferent?
Well, first off, I'm really disappointed that I got bumped from the first two questions.
You can answer them all if you want. So it's your moment, Dan.
I don't really have an opinion about that one. I would probably be rooting for Romo depending on where he landed. I have a lot of teams that I don't like, and they mostly live in the NFC. So I don't have a secondary so it's tough to say. I mean, I do root for players to perform well, but I root for players to perform well and still the team lose. Like, for example, we had a local kid, Talanoa Hufanga, who grew up in, where I live. And, he's played special teams for the 49ers. He's the one that had the touchdown and the only touchdown in the Packers game for San Francisco. So I was excited for that, but, I don't want the 49ers to have success. So, I mean, I don't really care. I don't think much of Matthew Stafford. I always thought he was, better than what, the Lions had. He kind of was in a bad spot. He was a better quarterback than what, what really was produced. So, and I wasn't thrilled that he's going to LA. I'm glad they wasted, I wouldn't say wasted, but spent a lot to get him. And I don't think anything, I'm not jealous at all about how the Rams do business. Nothing about that is, I think we're just completely looking at the result. I mean, for every time you have a team that's successful like that, you have the Kenny Gallaudays and you have the other ones like the Julio Jones and the JJ Watts. I mean, that people paid a lot of money for, and they didn't give you the results. And I mean, the Rams are just like giving everything up draft wise. I mean,
okay, Dan, you've created our line in the sand tonight. So let's dive into this. This wasn't on the rundown, so another 5 million points to Dan. Dan is doing all of y'all's jobs for you. Everybody pay attention to Dan. He is inspiring subject matter, creating content. So here we go. And I know that, of course, as it would have to be, Dan and Tom are on opposite sides of this subject. So Aiden, Tony, Sturge, let me know how you feel, and I'll get you slotted accordingly. Should the Cowboys be more like the Rams from a philosophical standpoint? Aiden, Tony, Sturge, are you yes or no? How do you feel, just so we can get you situated here?
Are we just talking about like their all-in philosophy of like their
I mean, again, there's no carbon copies. We're playing a game here, Aiden. Use your imagination. All right,
I didn't know if you're talking about like their philosophy of like force feeding Cup, like.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I think we're all on that page. To be clear, this particular subject matter is as it relates to acquisitions, as it relates to not being married to draft capital, as it relates to go. I don't like the phrase "going all in," but call it that if you want. But that's the subject matter at hand. That's where you guys tell me how you feel.
I'll jump in here. I don't like this. I like what Dallas has done in the draft.
Okay, so Sturch is on the wrong team with Dan. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say.
And Aiden was undecided. Okay.
No, I'm for it.
Okay, you go back. All right, cool. So, all right, Sturch, state your case, and then Sturch, you go. Dan will get you back to bring the point home, and then we'll throw you to the wolves. So, Sturch, you're up.
I just think that, the win now mentality that the Rams had, sure, that's going to work for this year, but they're going to be in cap hell real quick. You know what I mean? You can't sign these guys back. A lot of these guys are walking after this year. This is all you have to build a core through the draft. And look, listen, there's nobody that like yells from the mountaintops more to sign free agents than me. I just know the Cowboys will never adapt to that. So that's like why get excited about that? Why try to transform it into something that we know is not going to happen?
Okay, Dan, let's this was your idea, your brainchild. So we're in the delivery room. Let's go. Let's get this baby home.
Yeah, so first off, I mean, honestly, I think the Cowboys are doing everything right when it comes to roster building, and I don't think they're as bad as some people will say as far as like they don't do anything. We've seen trades for Amari or for Robert Quinn and Michael Bennett.
Or Michael, I was going to say Michael Bennett. Great point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're little ones that low risk, well calculated type moves. So it's not like they're just completely disinterested. They just want to make the right ones, and we all should know that free agency is a bad investment. It just, if you do the math, it's just a bad way to spend your money. And the Cowboys, it's not just lip service that they're like building to the draft. We're talking about like their last two top defensive picks are now all pros. So they're building through the draft. They're doing those things. I mean, it's just to me, that's too much risk. I mean, they're dice rolling and sometimes it works. And sometimes you're lifting the Lombardi trophy over and sometimes you're running the end zone without a shirt. I mean, it works. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. So I think the way the Cowboys do that, that's the one thing that I like about the Cowboys. And remember, we're always complaining about certain things, but are we ever really complaining about roster building? I mean, is that where our problem is? I thought it was coaching or Dak or somebody. So
There are a lot of problems, to be clear. But okay, that's well said. All right, you guys head back to your corner. Well done. Maybe some high fives. Maybe we can get like a Brady Bunch high five between you, Dan, and Sturch. Well done. Oh, Sturch went for the fist bump. That's the awkward thing when somebody goes fist bump, somebody goes high five. So it is what it is. Let's get caught up here. Casey Hammond, or excuse me, first Kevin Shirey says, I mean, the Rams got to a Super Bowl before they started trading every pick. Unless they win, what they didn't actually work. I'm not about to give credit to Jared Goff, Kevin, but he was part of their like all-in-ness. I mean, they traded for that number 1 overall pick with the Titans back in 2016. So there was a little bit of oomph to that there. And they also had Brandon Cooks on that team, who they traded for. So, I mean, no, Brandon Cooks he was already on the Patriots by that point in time. Never mind, excuse me. Whatever. They had already played around with Brandon Cooks and Sammy Watkins. I mean, they were already kind of tinkering with their roster as it was. Casey Hammond says, we're already in a bad salary cap territory. What exactly would you propose we do to accelerate it to a win-now situation with that looming problem? Tom, you literally authored the argument for this particular disposition, so this question is for you.
Well, to me, it's not about, okay, you're going to go out and start trading away all your draft picks. It's about you need to do whatever you have the opportunity to do when something comes along. And that may be why there's a faint glimmer of hope for you, RJ, because they did pull the trigger on the Amari Cooper trade. They've shown they're willing to trade a first-round pick if they see the value there. You have to have the right guy. And I think despite the offensive struggles of the last half of the season, Cooper has been a win in that aspect. They got value for him. Hopefully they're going to have it for a few years to come. You just have to unwed yourself from this. It's all build through the draft and just, a little bit of spackle and free agency to cover up a couple of holes in the wall.
You guys hear this, by the way? The recently engaged guy talking about getting unwed. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
I know things to come.
Thank you. I swear. First you make me motion sick with moving me around here so much, so I have to take some Dramamine. But no, I think the Cowboys need to take a more open approach and just look for whatever's there. I'm not saying that they need to be looking to shop their first-round pick. What they may want to do is this a year they need to think about trading out of the first round and picking up an extra second-round pick and a third-round pick or something. There's some possibility they might want to look out there depending upon what they think about the draft class. So I think they just need to be open-minded, and I would like to see a little more flexibility from Stephen Jones. And there may come a time when they want to trade some big-time picks to make a very important move. I don't think this is necessarily the year for it, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them get creative.
Tony, as it relates to free agency specifically, and Aiden, I've got a question for you, so be ready. But as it relates to free agency specifically, we all agree that we would like to see the Cowboys be more active, right? Dan, Sturch, you both obviously agree with that. I mean, something would be better than nothing. And even then, like, the nothings don't always hit. You know, you don't always get these Terrell Bashams and Carlos Watkinses that hit. I mean, you oftentimes get Cedric Thorntons and Andrew Gatchkers that, you know, are just dudes on your roster. So kind of isolating this specifically to free agency, and I know that neither Dan nor Sturch were condemning being active in free agency, but would you, I mean, maybe this is an obvious question, but would you like to see the Cowboys spend a little bit more money, open the purse strings up a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, I understand the way they draft, like Will McClay and the staff that have been drafting well. I mean, that's, like you said, they've built this team based on the back of their draft and homegrown talent. But at the same time, they've been aggressive in some of the ways that they've drafted too. Like, they've used the second round as almost like a gamble pick, where like they'd take a little risk and take a little chance there, whether it be like Jalen Smith and Kelvin Joseph wasn't like a clean prospect in totality, but they do see a big future for him. But as far as the free agency goes, I know it's not apples to apples when you're comparing draft picks to free agencies, and there's a bigger risk with taking money in free agency because usually paying a good player great money, and it's always a tier higher in money than value. But at the same time, utilizing the free agency and being a little more aggressive, not balls to the wall like the Rams, but like being a little more aggressive with the way they can attack free agency, it gives you another chance to hit on a different pool of players. And I understand that they have to pick and choose their spots, and money is a real thing, but we all know the cap can be manipulated. I mean, they're pulling triggers on players all the time, and at the end of the day, just because you're more free agency aggressive doesn't mean your drafting stops or gets worse. I think they're always going to have quality draft picks, and I think they're going to do a good job in that unit. But if this team is as close as we think they are, I think they have to turn it up a notch a little bit in free agency.
There are several questions we're going to get to in the comments. Again, this has inspired a lot of great talking points. Another 5 million points to Dan. Guys, be like Dan. Look at Dan Rogers on Twitter at DannyPhantom24. A heavy favorite for tonight's MVP. We'll see how that goes. Aiden, this question was destined for you. Kevin asks, why does the media, because we've kind of danced around this subject right now, seem so fixed on the Cowboys trading or cutting Cooper instead of just restructuring the contract? You've touched on this in some different roundtables and discussion points, and we're jumping all over the place, guys. We don't need whiners like Dan. I didn't get to answer that question, whatever, but we got to keep moving. So, Aiden, why is this a fixation? Do you think this is probable or possible? Do you think the Cowboys should consider cutting Amari Cooper?
No, they should not consider cutting Amari Cooper. And I think the reason that the media is so fixed, to directly answer the question, I think it's two reasons. Number one, it's really easy to be black and white with what you should do with a player. Like, it's really easy to say you should cut him or you should trade him because the contract's not working. But I mean, there's a lot more other things you can do, like restructuring his contract, and that's a lot more difficult to figure out in terms of the financials of it. But it's likely what's going to happen, and it's the right move, because another reason that, and I think Cowboys fans are getting in the zone again specifically, where we don't think Amari's this top 5 receiver in the NFL. So, he should definitely be off the team, and there's no reason that he should be a Cowboy if he's not the Jamar Chase, the Justin Jefferson, the Cooper Kupps of the world. Listen, having Amari Cooper specifically, a receiver who had, I think, 2 drops this year, just that reliable guy who's going to run.
Just too many, Aiden, given the money the Cowboys are paying for him. Everybody knows that.
By the way, guys, Jamar Chase had 9 drops this year. All I'm saying
Dang, Aiden just schooled y'all. Embarrassing.
All I'm saying is that having that reliable receiver is so valuable. So just wanting him off the team is baffling to me, especially when CeeDee Lamb wasn't all that impressive this year. So we're just going to hand him the keys to the kingdom, knowing that Michael Gallup could walk too. I don't get it at all.
Well said, by Aiden. I think we all agree generally, right? We're all down. Like, quit talking about this. Get rid of Amari Cooper stuff. It is weird, Aiden, how Cowboys fans, there is like a thing every offseason that we become fixated on. Like, things that jump to mind are Joey Bosa isn't it. Like, everybody hated Joey Bosa. Like, please don't draft Joey Bosa. Like, he's going to be terrible, whatever. Obviously, that did not age well. Please take TJ Watt. That did age very well. And now there's this Amari thing. There's just, it's the way it goes. Okay, we're going to play a game. Again, this kind of came up. It's not my fault, people. It's the commenters who are really inspiring things. Everybody has to give an answer. Nobody can give an answer that has already been given. Trust me, you want to go first here. Somebody sell me why you should have the first overall pick in this particular game. Anybody. I'll take anybody to sell themselves.
I nailed the Washington Commanders a month ago.
Sturch is last. All right, who wants to go first here? Anybody? Nobody cares.
RJ, I think you should go first.
Thank you so much, Aiden. You get to go first. Really Tom, you get to go second as the newly engaged man. Dan, you get to go third with the 15 million points you already have in the bank. Tony, you're the paisan for Sturge, so you're last by association, but you're not him, so you're not technically last. So, all right, again, you cannot give an answer that somebody has already given. DJ Dog 31 says Cowboys need to be more proactive in trading their own players for assets. They don't do that ever. The question, people, is I get it typed up for it. Which Cowboys players should the team consider trading this offseason? Aiden, go.
Make us all look bad. All right, Aiden. Good job.
Okay, I'm going to say... See, the only issue...
Bet y'all all regret not jumping for that number one spot now, huh?
I don't know how much value these players would have. If I had to just name one player and, hopefully the league sees them as the media sees them.
Yeah, we're playing loose here. These aren't all netting first-round picks or something like that, but, there's a lot that goes into this. And to be very clear, to Sturge's point, nobody's saying we don't like these players. This is just there are different motivations. There's cap relief. There's roster construction. There's allowing room on the roster for somebody else to thrive in lieu of them. But, Aiden, go ahead.
I'd say Tyron Smith, assuming that you go after an offensive tackle in the draft. But I'd say Tyron Smith because I think it's a big contract. Obviously, we know the injury concerns, and that's why I'm saying I'm hoping the rest of the league just sees him as the top 3 tackle when he's healthy. That he is, but he has been wildly inconsistent for us. He's costing us a very sizable portion of our cap, and if you are committed to going after a tackle in free agency or in the draft, you have to start thinking about his replacement soon. Why not do it now and get out of this cap hell that you found yourself in?
Kevin says, Tyron, if I had to do one, a team a tackle away could get you a first-round pick. I don't want to dive too deep into this subject, but Dan, would that not signal that the Cowboys don't believe they're a tackle away? Would that not be worrisome with regards to how the Cowboys view their own prospects this season? Or do we trust them to maybe find a suitable fill-in for Tyron and use whatever benefit comes from trading him away? Hypothetically, of course.
Yeah, it could be have a lot to do with the trust they have in Terrence Steele. And, the Cowboys do have – I think Aiden's going in the right direction as far as his choice.
5 million points for you, Aiden.
I don't think his answer was correct, though. But
okay. Well, hold up, Dan. Dan, you got to be careful because we still got to go through Tom.
Oh,
all right. So,
I'm not worried about Tom.
Look at this! Oh my gosh, the disrespect. Tom Ryle.
Yeah, I'm the Rodney Dangerfield for those who remember him as a group. So, one thing I liked about Aiden's answer is the fact.
Tom, this is for your answer, not Aiden's.
I'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to throw something in. Don't forget, Tyron has had injury problems, and he's finally getting up there a little bit in age. So I could see some of the logic there. But for me, I'm looking, okay, who can you get some value from that not really going to hurt your team, but you might be able to get somebody to give you a nice chip that you can
Tom, and just to interject very quickly, the game involves a level of practicality. So you can't just say any play. It's got to be a reasonable suggestion. I know that's where you were going, Tom, but for our other panelists that aren't as sound as you, but go ahead.
But, since you've got Blake Jarwin coming back and it looks like a strong tight end class, I bet you could get something nice for Dalton Schultz.
He's a free agent, though. You can't trade him.
Oh, is he a free agent?
Yep.
Oh, fudge. Well, see, I didn't have the list in front of me.
All right, Tom. Demoted. Goodness gracious. Dan, the force is suddenly yours.
Yeah. So I would try to trade Lyle Collins.
God.
And I think that as far as contract wise, that's the one that I don't even know if there's any dead money. It's, I mean, if there is, it's not very much. And I mean, I understand Tyron Smith's health issues, but I still think that when he is healthy, he's a great tackle. And I think there's going to be. I don't think Lyle Collins is going to be playing right tackle next season. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be Terrence Steele. Now, does that mean that Collins moves in to play left guard? I don't know. I mean, depends on what they do in the draft. So to me, I think Collins is your best bargaining chip, and that's one of the things that you have to take into account with this is you got to pick a player that another team's going to have interest in. You can't just pick anybody that's someone we don't want. So to me, I think Collins is he's our excess talent, so to speak. We have extra talent in that position, and we have a draft to go through to build some more depth. We have some young players that we haven't seen yet, Josh Ball. And so, yeah, Collins is my pick for this question.
Aiden, Tyron was a great answer, but I think that if we had to predict, I think that Lyle might be a better answer just because we know, and I don't know if this factored into your decision-making, Dan, we know he's kind of fallen out of favor with the coaching staff. We saw that, unfold itself all throughout the season. Tony, number 3, what's it going to be?
So I understand we're trying to talk practically, and I understand that the return on investment may not be great in this, but I think you should at least consider looking at the possibility of seeing if there's any suitors for Ezekiel Elliott. I think
this is a cheat answer, Tony. This is a cheat answer.
Tony,
we all of us rational panelists agree that this is a good idea, but nobody's trading for that. Nobody.
Yeah, well, that's
Tony. You right now you've got Baltic Avenue, and you're like, hey, Park Place. Hey, check this out. Let's dance right here. Trust me, this is really cool. Everybody passes it when they hit. When they come around the bend and they pass go. But
Don Schultz was already taken, so I couldn't pick that.
Okay.
I know it's a slam dunk, but at the same time, you could get somebody as a top 100 pick and a running back. If somebody wants to take the bait, I think the injury hurt Ezekiel Elliott more than anything. I think he can still play. Like you said, it'd be a salary dump, and you'd have to get somebody stupidly to do it. But I think that's with Tony Pollard and another draft pick. I think could be something to at least explore, and that's what the question is.
Aiden, you had some thoughts to chime in here.
Well, I just want to change my answer after we go through everybody, so
I'll just
submit that slip now.
Oh gosh, demoted. You have been Aiden. Okay, let's get everybody back in order here now in their rightful place. Just because this is a polarizing subject, as evidenced by Sturch's reply. Hands up for Dan, Tom, Aiden, and me. Would you trade Zeke Elliott if you had the opportunity? Like whatever the case may be, would you trade Zeke Elliott? Okay, so we're all in agreement. You would trade Zeke. I'm hands up for you 3. I guess you 4, counting Tony. I am almost down to trade Zeke. When we started this discussion, I said because I'm down to trade somebody if it opens the door for opportunity for somebody else. I'm almost to the point where I'm fine trading Zeke purely off of the notion that it opens the opportunity for Tony Pollard to be properly utilized. Does anybody agree with that? Like in totality, in any sort of minimum amount. Tom raises his hand. Tom, 10 million points to you. Thank you for agreeing with the great idea here. Dan, Tony, Aiden, you don't agree with that. Wow. Nobody believes in Tony Pollard. Dan does a little bit. Tony does. All right, Aiden, rightfully last. Tom, you really rebounded right here on the Zeke question, so you actually get to go next. So which Cowboys player should the team consider trading? Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, I guess Tyron's technically on the board. If Aiden wants to change his answer, Zeke Elliott off the board. How do you feel, Tom?
Well, just looking at the roster, if you believe in Kelvin Joseph, you could probably trade Anthony Brown and or Jordan Lewis. If you think that's it, maybe go out and get you another cornerback to come in. But that's just kind of a middling thing. You're going to get middling value. Because I think Brown is better than a lot of people realize. I just don't know for sure how the rest of the NFL is going to view him. But if you just want to try to get another draft pick, he's someone you could do, and it's going to save you a little bit of money on the cap space.
And he's coming off of maybe his best season ever as a Cowboy, right, Anthony Brown? I mean, like, not that his stock is like flaming high, but his stock is conceivably never going to be higher. Okay. All right, Tom, this is a good answer. Tony's answer really didn't count, so at least you gave a legitimate one, Tom. Good for you. Dan, you had something to offer.
No, I just wanted to say that was a good answer by Tom. You know, he's a player under contract, so that's good. He's tradable. But yeah, no, just good job, Tom. That's all.
Okay.
I don't say that enough.
I got to start doing this on split screen so I can pull up other stuff and check my names and figures and stuff like that.
You have two monitors, Tom? Are you just Iron Man? Is that what's going on here?
No, I'm just going to have to do two windows is all.
Okay.
I'm low tech.
We've got the two tackles, Zeke, because Tony cheated, Anthony Brown off the board, Sturch, Aiden wanted to go again, which means you're not last. So your answer here.
In spirit of knowing that he's under contract, I also I'm going to the tight end here, but I'm trading Blake Jarwin. I'm as much as I think that he's probably a little bit more athletic than Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz has proven that he could be a tight end one here. He's meshed with Dak for the last couple of years. Jarwin just signed that contract. You can unload a little bit. Now, I'm sure there's a team out there, like, I don't know. There's plenty of teams that need a good tight end, and I think he's serviceable, and I think you could pick up a nice little mid-round pick for a Blake Jarwin.
See, I think that goes in line with Tony's answer. I think Blake Jarwin makes too much money, and he's coming off of. I mean, all he's done since he got that deal is like nothing. I mean, like Blake Jarwin is awesome, but like, I mean, he's really only depreciated in value ever since. And if you're arbitrary team X, I mean, to Tom's point, you know, about Dalton Schultz being, you know, wanted. If you're whoever, wouldn't you just sign Dalton Schultz? Wouldn't you just offer him more money as opposed to giving up draft capital for Blake Jarwin? I mean, you know, that's just me. So Sturch with the worst answer. Aiden, I think I know who you're. I think I know who you're gonna say, Aiden. I have a feeling, but go ahead.
This is gonna be polarizing, and I may get yelled at for it. But if I sat down with Mike McCarthy and I said, "What are your plans for the upcoming year?" And I heard his plans that he says it's exactly like 2021. I'm trading away Tony Pollard because his value is so high. He's a free agent in 2023. You're not going to be able to afford Pollard and Zeke. And if you're just going to use him for 5 carries a game, what's the point of having this insanely valuable asset on your roster if you're not going to use him and he can make so much? Like he'd be good for, I think, a second round pick, if not higher.
Aiden, first of all, I think you just stumbled upon a great article for bloggingtheboys.com. So Aiden Davis will be writing this, everybody. So make sure to check out BTB. And we'll include a poll there. Kevin says, I would also trade Pollard. Zeke is too big a cap hit this year, and I think you can find another Pollard in the draft. Pollard just doesn't score touchdowns. I would only offer Kevin. He doesn't get the opportunity to, but, you know, we're sitting here debating silly things. Dan, you raised your hand with a point here.
No, I was just giving Aiden thumbs up. That's a good choice. I mean, there's good sound reasoning for it. I think the Cowboys, they're running back.
But that's the move, Dan, that they don't make. Back to the comment earlier that they don't break up with the guy with 1 year left on their contract. You know what I'm saying? You mentioned it. They traded for Robert Quinn and Michael Bennett and obviously Amari, but they don't get rid of the guy 1 year too early. They hold on to the very end, and then they say, well, you know what? We'll just let Pollard hit free agency. We'll let the Ravens or the Niners or whoever pay him $1 billion, and then we'll pick up that third round compensatory pick in 2023 or 2024, I guess.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the Cowboys that kind of, you know, baffles me a little bit, because they've had a lot of opportunities to sign some players before their last year of the contract. Like Schultz is one of them. Gregory is another one. Maybe Cheeto. I mean, look at the year he's having. I mean, and the Cowboys have kind of just like, well, you know what? No, let's just see what they do in free agency, and then they're just priced out and they can't do it. And so, I mean, of course, maybe that has a lot to do with they've already tried negotiating, and their agents like, no, we know what we can get for our guys, so we'll just kind of test the market. But the Cowboys, yeah, they come up unsuccessful in getting some people extended before they just let them hit free agency. Pollard is, I mean, I would say no, to be honest, but I mean, I'm open to the idea, and it depends on what the Cowboys can get. He is coming off a great year, and maybe some other team sees him as, you know, something you can get a good pick for. But the Cowboys' running back situation is going to be very murky after next season. I mean, we don't know if it's going to involve Zeke. We don't know what's happening with Pollard. So, I mean, the Cowboys really need to know what they want to do at running back and probably need to make up their mind relatively soon. And it may include taking a running back in this draft at a higher pick than what they would normally, you know, be inclined to do. So,
RJ, is that who you thought I was going to pick?
It is not, and I don't think it's who Tony thought you were going to pick either. Tony, I'm going to say who I thought Aiden was going to pick, and I think that you and I are thinking the same thing, Tony. I thought that you were going to say DeMarcus Lawrence, Tony.
100%.
That's what I really thought that you were. I mean, and look, I'm not one of the, like, he doesn't get any sacks, he's worthless people. But I mean, if the Cowboys are able, and I'm living in some ifs here, but all y'all lived in ifs, so back off. But if the Cowboys are able to re-sign Randy Gregory, and if they make Micah Parsons a full-time pass rusher, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, to your point, Dan, I'm willing to entertain this. I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to figure things out. I think he's a, you know, you've got to consider that. And that's the step that I think we're all in agreement on. They have to be willing to consider these things, as opposed to just like, oh, you want to trade for DeMarcus Lawrence, fingers and ears, la 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 la, which is how they've been forever. They have to be like, how many untouchable players are there on this team? There's Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott. I know that saying that inspired and Trayvon. Fine, I mean Trayvon Diggs, but there's a lot of people who would scoff at the Dak thing, maybe even scoff at the Diggs thing. But that's it. Can anybody name any other untouchable player?
Zach Martin.
Yeah, you make me an offer, I'm fine with that. I mean, you know, honestly.
How do we know that they're just not getting any offers? I mean, maybe they are touchable.
No, you're right, yeah. But I mean, go ahead, Aiden.
I was gonna say, I think the only truly untouchable player would be Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his own category. Like, there's the top of Mount Pius is Micah Parsons. The next stratosphere is Dak and Trayvon. And then I have a difficult time putting it. Maybe Brian Anger for Tony. I mean, if they re-sign him. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, who? I mean, anybody? Can anybody come up with?
Shout out to Parsons for the Buckus Award.
That's right.
Dak has to be in the untouchable category. We can't be putting him down.
Who's that?
Dak has to be. He's with Micah.
I agree with you, Dan.
Me too.
I mean, like, I agree from a philosophical standpoint, but Mike, like the evaluation of why Micah is in the untouchable and Dak is in the untouchable is different, if that makes sense.
Can I make it just a hypothetical, since we're going all over the place with hypotheticals?
Well, wait, Tom had something. Tom had something to say first, Sturge. Tom had something to say first.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Dak has to be in an untouchable category just because replacing quarterbacks is so absolutely difficult. And, you know, unless they were going to sign or trade for Aaron Rodgers, which would just make me sick to my absolute stomach while still possibly giving them an incredible chance to go a lot further, I don't see how you risk cutting ties with someone because, you know, I think what happened to Dak may have had a lot to do with him just being exhausted by having gone through a full, you know, a season, getting injured, 8 or 9 months of intensive rehab, then a season with an injury along the way. I think the guy just worn out. I think being rested is going to probably let us see the old Dak back to start the season. Article coming on TV soon.
That's going to be what we're all assigning hope to come July and August, Tom. But that's what I meant, is that the rules are different for quarterbacks, which is how Dak is untouchable, is because he plays a very unique position, which inherently makes him untouchable. But Micah obviously is there. Sturch, you had some stupid hypothetical to say. Go ahead.
Well, now that I got that perfect lead in, if you're all Stephen Jones right now and you get a phone call for a straight deal right now for the Dallas Cowboys from the Seattle Seahawks, we'll give you Russ. We just want Dak. Would you take it?
No,
right now?
Not Russ. Not
No?
anymore. I mean,
Good. Because I had this argument with a lot of other Cowboys fans, and in particular, 2 former Jersey boys. So those guys.
well,
right now,
Sturch has indirectly segued us into our last talking point of the evening. This was inspired by Tom, so 5 million points to him. Only 1 million points to Sturch for setting us up here. And so we are streaming, talking, recording on the day that Tom Brady officially announced his retirement from the NFL. Congratulations, the GOAT of all GOATs. Anybody who denies that Tom Brady's the GOAT, I don't know what you're doing at this point, but it is what it is. I wrote about this when he first retired, or reportedly retired, over the weekend. So we had that up at the site, but Tom wanted to discuss it. So Tom, I'll throw it to you first. Following Tom Brady's retirement, where do the Cowboys stack up in the NFC? Now, in the article, I also pontificated on Aaron Rodgers departing the conference, on Russell Wilson maybe departing the conference, to your point, Sturch. So for the purposes of this conversation, let's assume that Aaron Rodgers is a Denver Bronco, which is the heavy speculation, and we'll assume that Russell Wilson's also in the AFC. So we're talking about an NFC now, Tom, void of Brady, Rodgers, Russ. Go. You're on mute, Tom. It's okay.
I noticed that as I was going. I didn't expect to get this straight to me that quick. Really, what do you have if all of them are gone? The only, I think, quarterback that you have that would even be in the same tier with Dak, even if Dak is still having some struggles like he was at the end of the season, is going to be Matthew Stafford, because I think Matt Ryan's on his way down. Kyler Murray, maybe, but I think he's not quite consistent enough. Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't have much faith in.
Well, he's on the move too. Who knows where he ends up, if he's even in the conference anymore.
Yeah, and that's true. You put your faith in Kirk Cousins. Is Jalen Hurts really the answer?
Kirk could be on the move. I mean, and for what it's worth,
just,
well, while we're reshuffling the deck and we're talking football only here, it's possible that Deshaun Watson is in the NFC if the Texans do trade him, Sturch's favorite team name. So maybe he joins the conference. If these players are truly swapping conferences, that's a possibility. But, okay, does anybody agree with that? Or go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, Deshaun is such a question mark as to whether he's going to be able to play, because
we
don't know how his legal troubles are going to play out. It's just all you see is a bunch of teams with question marks and quarterbacks in the NFC. If Dak Prescott is all healthy, the Cowboys could be set to go.
Dan, are we falling into the trap again? Are we saying, well, Brady's gone and Rodgers might be gone and Russ might be gone? Like, this is all Cowboys, baby. Are we really this gullible, Dan?
Oh yeah, we are. I mean, can you sit there and say, like, with those two gone, Dak's not the best quarterback in the NFC? I mean, we're
counting Russ, I think he is, honestly. I mean, maybe you make an argument for Matthew Stafford, maybe, and like, fine, especially if they won the Super Bowl. But I mean, the argument's there.
I mean, first half Dak was the best quarterback in the NFC with those two quarterbacks in there. I mean, Dak was playing at a high level, and the Cowboys need to figure out what is ailing them in that regards, whether it's Dak or Kellen or Amari or whatever stuff. But if Dak comes back and plays the way he was playing when he was fully healthy, for sure Dak's got to be, at the top. And also too, I don't see any team. I mean, because everything's so dependent. Like, all the good quarterbacks are in the AFC. I think definitely we're going to totally bite into the Dallas hype again, because Prescott is that type of player.
Tony, you are an emotional Cowboys fan. Are you having a hard time controlling yourself from letting this thought take you away? Because that's where I think every Cowboys fan is at this crossroads right now, where you say, well, not only is Brady gone, which opens the NFC as a whole, the Cowboys play the Bucs this year. So, like, that one win or that one game looks so much less intimidating than it already did. And so, like, now you're starting to play with the math and starting to play with how many wins they're going to have, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, are you ready? Are you going to allow yourself to go down that line of optimism, or are you too scarred from the events of the last 2 weeks?
I definitely feel burned by it and everything. And it's funny. I think we mentioned it. All my positives I feel about this team moving forward has really nothing to do with the team. It's the way the NFC is unfolding. It looks like all the good, young, talented quarterbacks are on the AFC. And I am a Dak believer. So I do think that he is a top tier quarterback in the league and certainly within the conference. So as long as we have Dak Prescott and all the good quarterbacks go to the AFC or depart the NFC one way or another, I'm gonna be fooled again. I'm gonna buy in. It's gonna be me time to. It's gonna be May or June, and I'm gonna get that itch, and I'm gonna start drinking the Kool-Aid, and so I'm gonna start fiending for the Cowboys. But yeah, I think if they put together a good offseason, which we'll touch on, we'll get on to that. But I feel really good about the way the NFC is laying out for this team.
Aiden, we know Brady's gone. If Rodgers is in the AFC, if Russ is in the AFC, the Cowboys are the what best team in the NFC?
I'd say third. After I mean, you can't. The Rams are in the Super Bowl right now. The Cowboys aren't,
Sure.
So I'm automatically putting the Rams over. And the Cardinals are such a difficult team, but the Cardinals just beat us when they were on what was that, like a 7-game losing, or like out of their last 7 games?
It was a 3-game losing streak, and they won that, and then lost again, and then lost in the wild card round.
Yeah, so I still think I'd put the Cardinals. I just think they're a coach
What about the
away.
Niners with Trey Lance? You putting the Niners with Trey Lance over the Cowboys?
I do like Trey Lance. I don't.
Y'all
put them over
are
the Cowboys.
Sturch and Aiden shaking your heads. The Niners just ran all over the Cowboys, and Jimmy Garoppolo didn't do a thing. So let's relax here.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying it's ridiculous. And I think in 2 years, like Trey Lance, I do believe can be a good quarterback. I think he's got wheels, and I think he's got the arm. So I'm worried about Trey Lance in the future. I don't think a rookie, quote unquote, a rookie quarterback puts them over the Cowboys. But what I will say, this hypothetical is fun and all. I think the odds that Rodgers and Wilson are both in the AFC next year are next to 0.
Okay, Sturch, your thoughts on this overall subject?
I mean, look, I don't think Rodgers is going anywhere. Russ might, but losing Brady is big. That's a game on our schedule. That means it's more. And obviously, if the Packers lose Rodgers, that's a game on our schedule. So all of a sudden, I said, looking at our opponents, I said that the Cowboys can rattle off another 10, 11 wins just based off the opponents and not doing a damn thing in the offseason. I think that's a thing, right? But again, I'm too. I hate being like this, and maybe because it's still February and there's still one game to be played. But I'm still very, very hurt over what the Dallas Cowboys did to me this year. 12-5, crushing a division, winning a couple close games in the beginning. The heroics in Minnesota with Cooper Rush, right? This team is special. This team is special, and then just get completely, sandblasted by the 49ers. And I like I said, I can't get too excited on a level with Dak. Though I would say that if this is the hypotheticals. If Rodgers is gone and Wilson's gone and Brady just retires, I think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the NFC. I don't think Kyler Murray, not the guy. Kirk Cousins, not the guy. Even if Kirk Cousins winds up in, I don't know, Pittsburgh or whatever, it doesn't matter. He's not the guy either. Jalen Hurts, to me, sorry, he's going to be another Donovan McNabb where he'll put up some gaudy numbers, but he won't win.
That's such an insult to Donovan McNabb. Wow.
No, not really, because Donovan's burned us a couple times, and I think that
he was still awesome.
There will be a time that Jalen Hurts burns us and beats us. There's going to be times like that. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable.
Look at this guy, everybody. Sturch out here predicting Cowboys losses to the Eagles. What's going on here, man?
I mean, look, I'm sorry. I also predicted the Cowboys could go to the Super Bowl this year, along with this entire panel, and we all got burned. So I'm not going to sit here and tell that games are gimmies. The only games that are going to be on the schedule are probably the Giants. That's it.
Well, and the Washington Commanders. Can't forget about them. All right. See, I feel so dumb, honestly, saying it out loud. Like I can't. It's gross. Like and like the double M's, like the double. It's not. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan in any way, shape, or form.
You want them to change the spelling of Commanders?
I just wanted something cool. It's too many syllables. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's and that the is such a like I don't know. Just. The helmet better be sick. That's all I'm saying. The helmet better be awesome.
I'm I'm going to say something that y'all may not agree with. I was kind of warming up to football team.
That's
very-
dumb.
understand
as
that.
as somebody who had to write about when the Cowboys faced the football team, writing up football team got a little bit monotonous, but football team itself, I was warming up to it.
I was too.
It's because it's funny. We're mocking them. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And
why
let's
we
be
like it.
honest. Let's be honest. I know you guys are all writers, and we're in the media, and we try to be as politically as correct as possible. But how many times? Take a shot every time. Take a shot every time you said the other team name when you're talking about them. So they're never going to get past that. It's just on a political correctness standpoint. Yes, we've gotten past that. We've tried to get past that, but you're always going to refer to them as the RSs or whatever you want to call them.
It had to be something with an R. They have the really nice logo that is the R. They could have used that. You know what I mean? Like that would have been awesome. But wow, what a botch job. Tom, any words of wisdom as we get ready to get out of here?
Well, we now can refer to an abbreviation for the Commanders as the WC.
No, don't say it, Tom. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I just said
Don't say
WC.
it. Don't say it. Anyway, I didn't know. I thought you were gonna go somewhere else, so that's my bad. But just look, it's a family show. We're making sure everything's cool around here. Dan, you are our winner tonight. I don't have a special banner for you, but congratulations. Any words of wisdom to the peasants that aren't as good as you?
No, I would just say that, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are the best football team name in the NFL, and they have the best logo in the NFL, and they have the best colors in the NFL. So, I mean, Washington, what were they going to do? They're gonna be Washington. So, good luck to them. I'm hoping for a nice looking logo, a nice looking helmet. So, because we're going to see a lot of it. But just the Cowboys versus the Commanders sounds super lame. So, good luck with those guys. So.
And the logo, the Commanders has like the block on top. Like if anybody watches the Challenge on MTV, like the way that the challenge is written, it's actually, that's a great tweet that I'm going to tweet out. So nobody do that. That's my tweet. But anyway, Tony Catalina, get us out of here. Sturt shows us the logo on his phone. Thank you. Oh, I was wrong. I thought the stars were the top left quadrant, not the bottom left. Tony Catalina, the pressure is on. This has to be the greatest thing that all human beings have ever heard in the history of the world. What do you want to say? We are leaving as soon as you're done. Do not mess this up.
Man, our roundtables are a lot better than the Washington football team's name picking skills are. So just leave it at that.
Tom, show him how it's done, please. I mean, God, that was so awful. Tom, please send us home.
Hey, at least we're not them.
And that's how it's done. Thanks for joining us, everybody.